Hi there, and welcome to Ukulele Jazz Progression number 2. If you're interested in number 1, have a look at my website or indeed the YouTube channel. We're going to have a look at chord progression 16251, and it's a very common jazz progression. If you're confused about what I mean by 16251, I'm referring to the chords within the key. We usually start with the first chord, which is in this case we're going to play it in B flat, and we count the chords numerically up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back to number 1. So there's a chord for every note of the scale. If you want to know more about that, again, go to my website. So let's have a look at what we're doing. First of all, we're in the key of B flat, which of course saxophone players will love it if you play it in this key. The first chord is B flat. The sixth chord is G minor. The second chord is C minor, and the fifth chord is F. So we could just play those to begin with, so we're just used to the idea of the sound of it. So you get that into your head. But we're not going to just play the standard chords there. We may occasionally go back to those standard chords, but we're going to substitute, for each one we're going to substitute an alternative chord. First of all, let's have a look at the B flat. We're starting in B flat there. I'm going to use a B flat major 7th, which is this one here. 5th fret, 3 strings, and then 1 there. Just to avoid any further confusion, I'll put up the chord diagram for you now, and then you can freeze the frame and have a look at this at any stage. Here we go. So starting on the B flat, but we're going to use the B flat major 7th there. Now the next chord, instead of using a G minor, I'm going to substitute it with a diminished chord. I'm going to use B diminished 7th there. So we're going from B flat to that's my sequence, B flat to the diminished. And the thing about diminished is they're reproducible every 3 frets, so a diminished there is the same as diminished there, which is the same as diminished there. It's the same chord, it's just the order of the notes is different. So that's the beauty of diminished chords. So B flat diminished 7th, sorry, B flat major 7th I should say. B flat major 7th, followed by the second position diminished, and instead of then I'm going to go to the C. Instead of C minor, I'm going to do C minor 7th, which is just straight away across there on the 3rd fret. And then the F, well, I can use an F 7th, putting in the 7th there, or I can even put a little finger on the top there. So we've got those options. So starting again, we've got B flat, there's the first possibility for you. Another possibility, instead of F 7th, is to use F 9th, which is this one. 3 across there, and then that one on the 2nd fret. Quite a nice substitute for an F 7th. And also very useful, because if you started on that B flat major 7th there, then you were going to your diminished, then you were going to your C minor 7th, then it's just down like that. And that's whole sequence. That whole sequence can be movable, of course, because if you're starting in this key there, instead of using B flat there, it's actually C sharp now we're in. So get used to those shapes. The 16251 in that sequence. So we're going to start off with, anyway, we'll go back to B flat. And at any one stage, at any stage you can go back to the first position chords again. So we'll start off on the first position, then we'll probably, perhaps if we play 2 bars for each chord, we'll be able to use both versions of the chord. So if we had a B flat there, okay, so now you've got the chords behind you. I think the thing to do now is to look for a single note, and don't be too ambitious to begin with. Just look for a single note that you might want to add into the chord. So for example, if I'm on a B flat there, I might just put my little finger on the top there, take it off. So I've gone to the diminished. Next. And then I can move the diminished around, so I can do. So I'm using all the possibilities there. Of course, an F7th. Instead of ending on F7th there, it could have gone to the F7th up there. So now I could start on my B. Even go to a B flat here to start with. There's your next B flat up. So you've got a B flat there, you've got a B flat major 7th there, or you've got an ordinary B flat there. You can put your little finger on top. So you could start with a finished off with a. I went all the way down on just chromatically there. To come back to the B7th. So mess around with that as much as you can. I mean, there's lots of possibilities if you actually then discover the actual scale of B flat. Remember that the scale of B flat fits with any one of those chords. So any one note within that scale will be suitable for any of the chords that you're playing at any point. In fact, you know, you can play around with it as much as you want and make it as adventurous as you like. But to begin with, really get those chords into your head, especially the first 2 positions. Perhaps even be adventurous and go for the 3rd position. But it's great fun to do, and the 1-6-2-5-1 is such a common chord progression that you'll find it'll come up in so many songs and so many tunes. Have fun.